What's up, World Report family? It's your boy C-Dub. That's the final. Auburn wins on the road against Vandy 31-15. Let's talk about it in the post game.
Pre-game, halftime, and post the whole time the chat live. We around our folks, but we gon' keep the chat tight, keeping out trolls. That's why you gotta get your green name on, your pre-game on, cause ain't nobody doing it better, reviewing it better, building rapport so you in tune with the players, with some quick prize picks so you can scoop you some cheddar. Get your mug or your shirt with the letters. Game time.
This post game is brought to you by our sponsor, Prize Picks. Guys, head over there and use code REPORT where you get your first deposit matched up to $100. We definitely want to shout Prize Picks out for being a proud sponsor. Also want to show love to Lynch Toyota of Auburn. Head over there to lynchtoyotaofauburn.com. Great place in the Auburn area. Please be sure to check them out. Show love to them. Great vehicles. Also want to show love to Vintage 2298, another amazing place in the Auburn area. Good food. Definitely show them some love. Appreciate them for sponsoring us as well. I am joined by Mike G, B. Will. Second half saw a little bit of some offensive firepower this time. Auburn actually scores two more scores to get to a total of 31, eclipsing the 30-point mark for the first time this season. I call the score exactly, 31 points. Mike G, thoughts on the second half compared to the first half? What you see?
Look, a few more throws were made, a few more catches were made. They scored 14 points. So yeah, this was pretty much again what I expected. Auburn in the 30s. Auburn's defense did what I expected. So even though they got 15 points, the defense only gave up 8, baby. That's all they gave up. And I think that's a great performance here, considering that this Vandy offense put 20 on Georgia offensively.
Right.
Offensively. Right. And in 14 of those points in the first half. So I think only giving up 8 here on the road is what they've been doing all year. I can't say enough about the job that Ron Roberts is doing. Jarquez Hunter, I don't know if you could be happier for him. Like, right. Man, this has got to feel good if you're Jarquez. You missed the first game of the season. You didn't really get in a rhythm to start the season, and finally you get a chance to break out and show what you can do. Like running for almost 200 yards on anybody. If they had not called back because of the holding,
right,
that would have been over 200 yards on the day. That's hard to do in the SEC. I don't care who the opponent is. But ultimately, Auburn wins. They're halfway home to going 4-0 over this stretch that we thought they would go 4-0. Now, looking at the box score here, fellas, 27 throws for Peyton Thorne, right where I thought it should be as well, too. Opportunities to throw the ball and get yards in volume. Now, it was big play after big play after big play, 17 for 27. So, while the percentage might not have looked great, this is how you have to play the game if he's going to be your quarterback. I strongly believe that for a 60-something% quarterback, if you're not going to throw the ball north of 25 times a game, you're not going to give him a chance to help you. So that's what they did, and it worked against Vanderbilt. So we'll see what they do against our guy T. Will's defense on the road at Arkansas next week. But ultimately, Fairweather is, man, that guy is a talent. But also, man, there have been some disappointing drops as well so far this season. I would like to see Jay Fair get some more targets within the flow of this offense. And see them get the ball to their playmakers. They did what they had to do to win today. And that's what it boils down to. You've got to get the win on the road. And at this point in the season, I'm not sure that Hugh Freeze really cares how they look when they win, as long as they get the win. Right. So he's trying to get to year 2. It's pretty clear. And do that by making a bowl game, by way of making a bowl game. So we'll see how it goes. this is a win they had to have. They got it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm excited about it. It's just about what I expected, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot else to say about this. Loved seeing Pritchett get the interception there at the end. This turnover streak is nuts for Auburn, and I think that is definitely something that should be celebrated.
B. Will, thoughts on the second half, what you saw, concerns, anything you're happy about? Talk to me.
I am happy that they didn't shut it down, that they kept pushing the ball down the field. I thought that was good to do, which is what I wanted to see in the second half of the Mississippi State game. And kind of forget about what the margin is. Like, look, just play because you need to practice this quarterback and these wide receivers continuing to get snaps with each other, getting reps with each other, and getting more comfortable with each other. It looked more difficult on the road than it did at home. I mean, which is to be expected, right? You don't expect everybody to be completely comfortable on the road, especially not at that stadium. But I thought Peyton Thorne looked a lot better in the second half. He looked a lot better. The wide receiver drops. It's not good. That's the best way I could think to say it. It's not good. If it's not a drop, it's a hold at the worst time on a big run or something that would have been a big completion. It's really troublesome. If we get behind the chains at all, like, it's over. Like, it's that drive is done. What appears to be what happens. With that being the case, it seems like if everybody can start on the same page and everybody can start clicking, that's our best chance to keep clicking. If for whatever reason, somebody's not going to do their job, whether it's offensive line or wide receivers or quarterback, they just cannot connect with each other. Y'all ever do the thing where, like, you're in college, or even better, you're at work? Because I've done this plenty of times at work. Had to meet people a lot for events, and you see somebody that you know. Maybe they worked in another department. You finally see them, and you go in, and you have to decide between a professional handshake or some dap. And one of y'all goes for one, and the other person goes for the other. And it's like, oh, all right, man, you just pat him on the shoulder. All right, as I see you. Because you messed it up. Like, the momentum, like, you walking towards somebody, like, that's what we look like we do on offense. Almost every time at the game, it's like somebody's coming with that professional handshake and the other person's coming with some dap, or even better, you coming for a handshake and they just give you like the fist bump. It's like, so you bumping like the open hand. That's what it looks like we're doing on offense. We are missing each other in some form. People are not connecting. And if we do that early, we're not going to. This was the worst team we had played since Sanford. And I don't know. I'd like to see Sanford and Vandy play to decide who the worst team on our schedule was. But I don't know.
Oh, worse off.
I thought for sure we'd get past 31. Like, I thought 37, right? Man, the amount of opportunity that was out there on offense, we should have scored like 42, 45 points. If we don't drop the ball, without the holes, without the bad reads and throws,
penalties.
Like, yeah, this is like 45 points of offense. But because we looked so bad early and we weren't in sync, that cost us 2 touchdowns, at least 2 touchdowns.
It's at least 35-15. Because at the end of the half, again, the chop block as Jarquez went into the end zone, like, that was called back. That was a for sure score. But there were a few more of the points we left on the field as well.
Yeah. And of course, with the one with the Omari dropping the wide open one right there, we can't afford. We look closer to what we did against Mississippi State? Yes. But not being able to find each other early out of the gate, that is still concerning. And I still have no idea why. Like, the holds were egregious to the point where they persisted all game. Quarterback play was shaky early, and another bad throw at the end of the first half that was almost an INT. Wide receiver play was like, the drops were the entire game. Like, it didn't come back. I mean, of course, not every potential reception was a drop. We caught some, but the amount of drops spread out over the whole game, like, I'm concerned now. Like, is this a thing? We're going to play better at home, I assume. But I'm always thinking about, now I'm thinking about Arkansas. And then I'm thinking about Bama. We have to play on the road at Arkansas. We can't afford, they are decent enough that we can't afford to go in there and do what we did today and win that game. I would feel comfortable saying we're a 6-win team because we got New Mexico State still on the schedule. Buddy, that's all we would be comfortable betting money on. Like, that's it. I would say 6 wins. I don't know what we're going to do against Arkansas because it's been so hit or miss. And that's still concerning me. So, yes, I am glad that we won this game. I'm glad that we kept it open and opened it up. I'm still very concerned that we could not get in sync against the worst defense on our schedule. Or Power 5 defense on our schedule. I'm concerned that we couldn't look good for a whole half at least against this team. Like this I'm still worried. Happy we got the win, of course. We're going to make a bowl game. We're going to get more practices. These guys are going to get more snaps. They're going to get more development after the regular season is over. But man, I'm worried about 2 out of the next 3 weeks.
Understood. Let me make some points here. Auburn eclipses the 400-yard mark in total offense for the second straight week. Auburn rushes for over 200 yards, throws for nearly 200 yards in terms of pass yards. We actually got to see the offense open up at the very least. Against Cal, we went on the road, won that game, but you kind of felt like, when is Hugh Freeze going to open up the offense? It seems like they are beginning to let it rip. And it seems like in some cases, there's some positive things that we are seeing in the offense. What are some things that they can build on? And are we at a point in the season where you can even clean up some of this stuff that we're seeing out of these guys? Because we're in the back half of the season, as Mike G alluded to early in the day. What can be cleaned up? Obviously, penalties is one, drop balls for sure. But what are some things that these guys have to emphasize and work on going into Arkansas week? I'll go with you, Mike.
To me, it's really, this is all about penalties, sloppy penalties, holds, offensive line play. I'd love to go look at the pressure stats after this one. It looked like, Thorne was under a decent amount of pressure in this one. Mm-hmm. But that's just the eye test. I have to go back and rewatch and then look at the pressure stats, the PFF pressure stats. But ultimately, it's pass blocking and it's the passing game. I just think if they can find a way to pass the ball more efficiently, somewhere in the mid-60s rate, this would look a lot better, consistently. High 60s at that, man. When you look at the numbers in the SEC, it used to be like 65% was a decent completion percentage for college football. Now guys are completing the ball at such a crazy rate, man. If you're not closer to 70, good luck beating the top half of the conference. So finding some way to get there, I think would be important. But it's more about concept at this point, because I don't think Auburn's starting quarterback for next year is on this roster. So
great.
Yeah, it's more about finding a concept and showing a concept for a guy who's going to come in and run it. And that's just my opinion on it. Based on what Hugh Freeze has shown us, and how he will play guys and what route he's willing to go and, which way he favors. I don't think the quarterback's on this roster, so I just want to see some proof of concept between now and the end of the season, and then improve execution on the basics, on the fundamentals. Because, here's the thing, right? And to kind of answer your question around about way, Caesar, my foundational and fundamental belief about this staff and this head coach is that they are just trying to get to next year. Make a bowl game and get to next year, right? Yeah. And then reset. They're coaching for next season.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think that's a shame. I do. I think that's a shame for the kids who are here and they have 1 year left to play. But it just is what it is at this point. So that being said, the most important thing would be showing some of the concept that you hope to run next year, right? Because if you're coaching for next season, do what sets you up for next season. This puts them one step closer to that 6th win that will get them to a bowl game. So they've got to win, 2 out of the last 3? Or one more game, right?
Yeah, one more is a bowl game.
One more is a bowl game. So you got New Mexico State, right? But you certainly don't. If you can win Arkansas, you want to win that one,
right?
Right.
It's
that
a
puts you
winnable
at 7.
game.
Yeah, right. So we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. I just think it's more about figure out the concepts that you want to run, and if you're Ron Roberts on your side of the ball, just continue to develop some depth and experience for next year as well too. For any guys that might, Hugh Freeze talked about this defense and saying, he thinks that they've done a great job for being talented but not deep. So maybe create some depth on defense and get some guys some experience, and then come in next year and tear it up. They can build on this defensive performance. They'll be pretty formidable next year. It should be very formidable. I mean, you lose DJ James, he doesn't come back. I think Sims is gone. You lose Harris, right? So developing that depth might be very important. You're not playing for an SEC title. You're going to make a bowl game. I think this has to be about the development of the guys who are going to come back and be your core next year, and just working on that. So, and then trying to put yourself in a position where there is some belief in this team that they can go out and pull something off against Bama.
Yeah.
Right? Build confidence for the Iron Bowl. Because I'm telling you, I just think it would do wonders for this team. And again, what a great parting gift to the seniors on this team than an Iron Bowl win. Right? So if there was anything you were holding in the tank, whip it all out for the Iron Bowl.
Hey, let's not. It's different phrasing.
For Bama, the phrasing is exactly right. Whip it all out for the Iron Bowl. And try to create a memory. I mean, you could start your tenure at Auburn creating an iconic memory by winning that game. That is something those kids will never forget. They have not beat Bama since 2019. They came close 2 years ago, but we're going on 3 years since they've had a win since Alabama. It's a long time, and I think maybe those are the things that you coach for and you hope to accomplish. But as far as cleaning stuff up, at this point in the season, your team just kind of is who they is. I'm just not. I don't know if I love the term. What are we cleaning up? What are you cleaning up at this point? You're 8 games in, right? Like you are who you are at this point, and they've decided to go a certain route. I don't know that you clean up wide receiver drops this, because if they catch it for the next game, nobody's going to forget the first 8 games. It's not going to get credit for catching balls against New Mexico State, right? Like you just figure out a way. The only thing you're trying to clean up is that win-loss column at this point, and then building depth for next year.
The reason why I disagree with that a little bit is because this is the largest volume of passes they've had thrown at them at any point in the season. I mean, we've gone games where we haven't thrown the ball much. So there's opportunities now for these receivers to catch the ball. They just didn't catch it in this particular game. I'm thinking maybe in a vacuum, we see this. That's something that can improve for next week. But that remains to be seen in terms of what we do and execute for next week. Let's get into some comments. And then we have 2 guys we want to bring on from the Uptempo and the College Loop. But first, let's get to some of you guys' comments. Largwin Taylor just became a member. Welcome, good sir. Tucker had a super chat, but I missed your comment there. Chatted to us again so we can definitely see it. Devin21 says scoring over 30 points. Check. Holding them to under 20. Check. Nice win by the boys. Missed opportunities for sure. I'm not mad about it. Good comment there. Appreciate you being on. Relaxing Joe says Fairweather had a really rough game.
Yeah, it was very uneven.
He did have a rough. Outside of that touchdown pass, he was a leading receiver, but definitely could have added some more yards onto his total. But definitely dropped some sure-handed throws to him for sure. Again, I'll look forward to. I know he's going to get some more targets down the stretch. I'm eager to see if he makes the most of those coming off of this game. Philip Coleman says, "What happened to Shorter? Has he even touched the field any last few games?" I haven't seen Shorter, guys. I don't know if you've noticed him out there on the field at all. Y'all silence says no. Yeah, I haven't seen it either. Ben Bloodworth says we're back to went to a winning record. kept the turnover streak alive. Jarquez went off, scored 30+. Defense allowed 1 touchdown, no major injuries. A lot to like. War Eagle back at you, Ben. Good comment there. D-Lev says, preach be will. We get those unnecessary holding calls at the absolute worst times. We can't do that against the little piggies.
Yeah, man. Can't do that. Cannot.
Ant Robinson says, Archie looked good to you guys.
They look better.
I don't know if you guys saw them.
They beat Florida, right?
They look better. They were in it the whole time with Florida, neck and neck, punch after punch. Now, Florida was very thin on defense. They had a bunch of injuries. I think one of the best linebackers was out for the rest of the season, and then they had 2 other ones who couldn't play today. So they were thin. Florida was thin, but they still went and got it done. That their effort today far eclipsed the 3-point effort they put up against Mississippi State a couple weeks ago. So they look better. They looked improved.
JB says, by the way, that was the DJ James I've been expecting all year. He finally stopped making business decisions. DJ James was flying around the field today. Definitely Vanderbilt had a screen that could have gone for a lot because Auburn blitzed on that. And he broke that play up. So he was definitely flying around. I was happy to see DJ James have a good game in this game. Cameron Carr says, I love the show, but not agreeing on the coaches, just trying to get through. Vanderbilt is a feisty team. They scored 20 on Georgia.
The thing about that score 20 on Georgia is so did we, and we are awful on offense for the entirety of the year. A good effort against the best team on your schedule does not make you a good offense. They are feisty. And I did see something with Ken Seals throwing. Mostly we were in prevent. All right, we were just trying to keep it in front of us, trying to keep it safe. But what I saw was that as their receivers crossed the field and hit those open zones, their quarterback was hitting them. And their wide receivers were catching them. So I don't think their effort against Georgia makes them a good team. We saw that they earned 8 offensive points against us. I don't count their effort against Georgia as, they're a bad team all the way around. And I think that beatdown should have been a lot. Well, 16 is not a beatdown.
Yeah.
Again, I thought we should have gotten to 45 the way we had things available to us in this game. It should have been 45-8. That should have been the final score, but it wasn't. So I think we underperformed a bit this game.
And, not to defend Mike's comments there, but I don't think this game was an indication of Mike saying what he said. I think that's come from other things that Mike has observed throughout the season, which if he wants to get into, he's more than free to get into. Lisa Wise says Fairweather repeatedly whiffs on blocks on the passes to backs.
Listen, man, the blocking from the tight end and receiver standpoint has been pretty disappointing.
It ain't just Fairweather either.
It's not just him.
It's not just him.
Our point is taken here. Yeah,
it's not just him, but yes, noted. Let's bring in 2 of our guys here, Dylan Lark, College Loop, our guy Dustin, Up Tempo Pod. Y'all guys look like y'all in better moods, man. Auburn must have won a game. What are your thoughts on this, man? I'll start with you, Dylan. You jumped in first. How you feeling, man?
Well, it's a mixed bag of emotions. My girlfriend watching the game with me, and she's like, "Why are you upset? Why are you so upset? Y'all are winning." I was like, "This feels rough to me." I definitely think there was like 15, 20 points left off the board. The drops were abysmal. The defense let Vanderbilt get wide open. It was all around. It was a win. Yes. Was it a good win? It was a win's a win in this case, but I don't know if I can consider it like a great win.
Okay. All right. Dustin?
It's about what I expected, man. And to be honest with you, this was more the kind of way I expected our games to unfold before the season. Like, I didn't expect us to rotate quarterbacks for the first 6 games, right? But the way that this game unfolded is to where you're running the up-tempo offense. There's some things there. You're just dropping the ball, or how many times there's 2 different punt returns where the ball's on the ground, right, and we don't pick it up. There was just some missed opportunities. You had 2 touchdowns taken off the board, both by Jarquez because of penalties. And that's kind of the way I expected this season to go the whole time, was the coaches putting us in better position and the plays just not kind of being made. So I'm encouraged by the fact that it's 2 weeks now where there at least seems to be a game plan. There at least seems to be an identity. Okay, we're going to go out here and we're going to do this. And just we didn't do that well on first down today, and still found some ways to move the ball at times. So we just really kind of got in our own way. But this is what I expected, C-Dub. I predicted like 28-14 range, 31-16 on our pregame show. It's a road win. We've struggled on the road this year. And so all in all, man, I'm happy. This is about, like I said, this is about what I expected. So I'm not going to be too upset about anything. And really, this is one of them games, man, where it feels like we should have won 42-7. So when you look at the score, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, but it really wasn't that. That's not really the way the game kind of played out. Like, we were always in control. You've got the mistake by Peyton Thorne. Otherwise, I think he played pretty well. Jarquez, 3 games in a row where he's eaten. So I feel like moving forward, we say, okay, we have an identity. We know what we're doing. This team can say, hey, we went on the road and got a win. So now they won't have that monkey on their back next week going to Fayetteville. They can look at this film and say, hey, we clean up these mistakes and we really win this game. So all in all, man, I think we made some progress today. Then let's keep stacking these things. Let's go to Fayetteville next week and get another one.
Let's talk about a few people today that I want to kind of highlight. Let's start with Jarquez Hunter. Almost rushes for 200 yards. Should have rushed for over 200 yards. Should have had 4 touchdowns in this game. Had an amazing game for a guy whose season started off slow. How good has it been to just see him really go off in this game and have or be the Jarquez we expected him to be coming into this season? I'll start with you, Dylan.
It's been great. You go into this last offseason and just everybody was being highly advertised, and you're just expecting this great season from all these players that the coaches are very high on. Offseason drama comes along. I'm not going to say exactly what the drama was, but I'm sure everyone already knows at this point. And then you're just sitting there wondering, when are we going to see Jarquez? Where's Jarquez? Where's he at? He finally gets back, and he's not the same. And you start talking about how I believe me and Tar talked about it a lot, that he's more of a complimentary back. That's how he's been playing. And then you finally get to Ole Miss, and he finally steps up and takes that next level. Then, of course, Mississippi State. And then this game, it's a breath of fresh air to watch Jarquez Hunter kind of mold himself back into the Jarquez that we were expecting to see from game one. And, I mean, he could find his way back to 1,000 yards somehow.
I think he's around the 500 mark, 600 mark at this
point. 530, I believe.
Yeah, so he's got a ways to go, but if he keep having games like this, he could get pretty close. Dustin, your thoughts on Jarquez and his performance tonight?
Yeah, before the season, we all knew that Jarquez had to have had a big year for this Auburn offense to be successful. So for him to get going in this back half of winnable games definitely makes you feel good. And have you noticed he's been doing this behind a freshman center? So shout out to our guy Connor Luke, because he's been holding it down, man. And that's big time for you to have a guy like Avery Jones, an experienced guy, to get hurt. You have to turn to a true freshman and for him to step up. And it's been no drop off. If anything, man, it may have been a step up from what I've seen. So I think we're starting to get that run game going, man. And going into this game knowing that, hey, man, you got to run the ball. You got to pound the rock. Everybody's saying go for 150. Jarquez needs to go for 150 today. And then he almost gets to 200. So I can't be mad at that.
Listen, there's a few guys to highlight on the defensive side of the ball. DJ James had a game. He was Auburn's leading tackler. Yeah. He was kind of flying all over the field. Of course, Jalen Simpson had a good game, but Zeke Walker had a good game. Yeah. He was blowing up some plays. He had 2 tackles for loss in this game. Of course, Marcus Harris was being Marcus Harris. Jalen McLeod had a good game. I like the pressure that we put on the QB in this game. 5 sacks by this defense. So it was one of the things that we've been concerned about throughout the season. Obviously, Vanderbilt has its issues in terms of pass pro, but it was good to see Auburn get pressure for once in a game to where the defense or the quarterback was under pressure, it seemed, throughout this game. Talk about how the defense pretty much kept Vanderbilt at bay, really only giving up 8 points in this game. Start with you, Dylan.
I mean, it's like I just told Jarquez Hunter, a breath of fresh air, because you're just expecting this defensive line just to step up. When they're going to step up? When are you going to see this defensive line step up? And you finally see it from Lawrence Johnson had himself a pretty decent game. Yeah. Zakevius Walker, again, had really stepped up. Marcus Harris just can keep continuing to do what Marcus Harris does best. And then, of course, Jalen McLeod also just doing what he does best. And it's just a nice thing to watch happen, because it's like another thing that you're finally seeing a complete looking defense for the first time this season, because the defensive line was a position group that we weren't really expecting to be as quiet as it has been all year, especially with Jason Jones hasn't been like a front runner for anything news wise. It's always been Marcus Harris, and the edge rushers. I was expecting a little bit more from the edge rushers, specifically Elijah McAllister. I think he had a decent-ish game, but he didn't really get his name called a lot. I was kind of expecting a little bit more for not a revenge game, but what's the word I'm looking for here? Just a welcome home moment. Just like, hey, I'm back. I'm here to tear it up. I didn't see that from him. Or both Vandy guys were very quiet today, but it's nice to see, especially Zacchaeus Walker really stepping up.
For sure. Listen, I know, Dylan, you're president. Well, a little before we get to you, Dustin, talk to me about the defense, man, and what you saw.
To Dylan's point about breath of fresh air, I think it's been a breath of fresh air all season just to kind of see the Auburn defense return to playing Auburn defense, right? You can trust them. You know that they're going to get the stop. Go down there that possession late where it was the 4th and goal. I knew they were going to get the stop. I knew Vandy wasn't going to get the touchdown there. I just have faith in the team, right? They had that one bad drive. It is what it is. That happens. D1 football. Vanderbilt put together a good drive. Cool. So I'm very proud of the defense. To disagree with Dylan a little bit as far as preseason wise, I didn't expect much of anything from the defensive line. I felt like Keldrick Falk was really the only guy that I looked at and said was like a edge rusher, a guy that could kind of, and he's not really necessarily playing that position, right? He's kind of playing more of the end. But a guy that I looked at and said is like a NFL caliber pass rusher. He's really the only one that I saw and still kind of feel that way. So I think that Ron Roberts has done a good job. I don't think there's a whole lot of depth on that D-line. But, again, Walker stepped up today. Like Dylan said, Lawrence stepped up today, had a big day, and we needed that with Kite going down right. So, just proud of Ron Roberts. He's done a good job, and I think he's earning a pay raise, C-Dub.
Yeah. I'm excited about Ron Roberts. And again, I think we're seeing what Hugh Freeze has been talking about in terms of how he calls a defense in a game. It seems like he's calling and dialing up really good plays. If anything, it's been execution types of issues that we've seen. But for the most part, he knows how to dial up a pressure, it seems like, at the right time. Again, Vandy's QB was under pressure for a lot in this game. Ken Seals was running for his life, it seems, at times. So definitely a amazing job on our part of our defense. I was thinking that our offense was probably going to have to carry the defense a little bit this year, given some of the concerns we saw in terms of how we defended the run last year. But this defense has definitely improved this year, and I anticipate with the talent they're bringing in through the portal and recruiting that it will only improve and get better from here. So good things on that side. Let's talk about Peyton Thorne, second half. First half, he looked a bit shaky at times. He threw a pick 6, and we were wondering if he was going to get it together, but he came out looking pretty good. First drive, he hit Rivaldo, big strike, 53-yarder, had a good game in the second half. Let's talk about what we saw in Peyton Thorne, almost a tale of two halves for him. But when you look at his stats, if it had not been for those drops, Peyton Thorne is almost right where he would have been last week. He was 17 of 27 for 194 yards, would have easily thrown for over 200 yards if not for those drops. Talk about Peyton Thorne's performance in the second half. I'll start with you, Dustin.
Yeah, proud of him, man. Again, is it any coincidence that you've picked a guy and all of a sudden the offense looks like it has an identity? All of a sudden it's working. So, and I know that Hugh said in the press conference that he had gone in on the bye week and he had said, after the Ole Miss game, and he had said, hey, we're switching this thing up and this is how we're doing it. And I think he wants to go down doing it his way, up-tempo RPO style. And he had been mentioning for weeks during that losing streak. He was tired of not seeing us run the RPO. So I think that he came in and said, this is what we're going to do. And I think it sounded to me like he had a heart-to-heart with Peyton Thorne. Like, buddy, if you don't get it done this week, then we're going to go to Robbie. And then obviously Peyton stepped up versus Mississippi State and had a good week. So you got to stack them. If he would have went on the road this week and laid an egg like he laid at Cal or like he did at A&M or like he did in Baton Rouge, right, then last week doesn't mean anything. You're right back to asking the same questions. And I think he knew that as well. The pressure was on him from that standpoint as well. And when Omari Kelly catches that ball, his stats look different. A couple of them drops, his stats look a lot different. So I think that This was a Peyton Thorne that we kind of expected at the beginning of the season. Not a guy that's going to come in and light the world on fire, but a guy that can play competent football and put you in position to win. And I think he did that today. And I think it's his second good game in a row. And I'm now that he's got a road game under his belt where I think he played well, I feel pretty confident in him going into Arkansas. And again, man, it just feels good to say, okay, this is the guy. This is our identity. This is what we're going to do.
Dylan, president of the Robbie Ashford fan club.
Yup. Still remain that nonetheless. There was a time during this game where I almost completely gave up on Peyton Thorne. I looked at my girlfriend. I was like, I'm about to just resign from president of the Robbie Ashford fan club and just be the president of the I Hate Peyton Thorne club, because he just had those times where he just doesn't look like he's got it. And I was very impressed with him after that pick six and the other drive that fell down. He looked impressive, and that's something that I'm just not used to seeing out of him. Average quarterback playing above average is a good sign. Hopefully he can keep this upward trajectory that he's had. I still want to see a little bit of Robbie Ashford. I still thought that, and we also could have seen him if this offense could have caught some passes, and of course Amari Kelly and the Jarquez Hunter touchdown getting called back and would have helped a lot. But I definitely think Robbie Ashford still earns a spot in this offense, because Peyton Thorne just does not have the read option capabilities or that we really want to see out of these formations. And I like how we all talk about all the time. The starting quarterback for next year is not on the roster right now. I think you're definitely gonna be looking at guys who can run the RPO and can run the read option a lot better than Peyton Thorne can. And I mean, at times, Robbie Ashford has had moments where he hasn't even been able to run it very well. It seems like he just keeps it all the time, and that might just be because it's a designated quarterback run for him. But I would like to see Robbie kind of run those read options a little bit more, especially in the red zone situations. Because after that first try, I know the play where Peyton Thorne gets in motion, and it worked that one time against I think Ole Miss. I don't really understand why they ran that again, because I think after one time it doesn't really work.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen, I think one of the things that I would say in response, Dylan, is I don't know if this coaching staff knew how to utilize both QBs within a game as we begin to see.
Not at all.
And so it was one of those things to where, because of how the flow of the game, you already have to work hard to get into a flow with one QB. When you throw another QB in there, it further complicates it, especially if you're already not in a rhythm. So it was good to see them, of course, 2 games in a row, get into some sort of a rhythm with Peyton Thorne as your QB. And you're going to need that, especially if he's going to be your guy running Hugh Freeze's offense on the road next week against Arkansas. It was encouraging to see that in the second half for sure. So let's get to some comments. Get to this. Ben Bloodworth says A&M and Florida are paying a lot more to have the same record as us. The laughing emoji. Ben is taking a lot of pleasure in A&M and Florida's struggles. I'm wondering what's going to happen to your boy Jimbo B. Again, you can save that take for tomorrow if you'd like, or you can jump in if you have some initial thoughts.
Man, I don't know what's going to happen to Jimbo. I hope they keep him so he can continue to be bad at a spending powerhouse like Texas A&M. That's what works for us. A bad coach staying at a quality infrastructure SEC opponent. That's what we need to happen. I don't think that's what's going to happen. Only thing I care about are the players that we're eyeballing that they have in their pocket right now. Can we possibly snatch them away? I mean, sentiment is it's not completely a done deal. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? In the era of NIL, though, the school's organization, the collective, is what would decide how these players are ultimately retained, probably more than it used to be. It used to be mostly relationship to players. Relationship to coaches. The coach, the staff, the system. Do you like it? Yes or no? You like the campus? All right, cool. Now we know NIL is playing a factor in how these players get to their destination. If the NIL collective is not going to change, that's not going to change when the coach gets out of here. They probably have a better chance of retaining these players after a coaching turnover than we did 5-6 years ago before NIL got started. So who knows? All right. We don't know. We can hope, though. Get Cam Coleman out that class, put him in this class. On Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons. Oh, my God. Especially after the drops today. I don't want to do that. Because we got season to finish right here. We got to finish this season before we talk
Stay
about
focused, B. Stay focused.
But that's why I want Jimbo out. I'm happy to see him lose. I would have loved to see Lane lose too. You know, I want it to be the case that Ole Miss has never won the West. This is the last year of an SEC West. Well, at least as far as we know, we're going to go to kind of like round robin next year. I would love to say that Ole Miss never won the West. I can't live within a America where Ole Miss won the SEC West. Who wants to live in that America? I don't. I needed them to lose, and if Jimbo did it, that would have been cool. But I'm glad Jimbo lost, though. It's a good consolation prize.
Who else does Ole Miss have left on their
They got to go see Georgia.
They got Georgia. Oh yeah, come on, come on, bro. Come on, man. What are we talking about, B? What are we talking about, bro?
Yeah, it's going up.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Well, the Walker Show says it's tough to pay $60 to $7 million payout or buyout and then pay another coach and staff.
It
is, but A&M got money. They got money to blow, it seems.
You know what I'm saying?
So
we just
we'll see. We will see. It's going to be interesting down there in Aggie land for sure. Johnny H says Hugh must have finally brainwashed some of the fan base enough with his talent gap propaganda to think Vandy should have been anywhere near striking distance against us.
You know that I do find it curious. We're at a point as a program between the meltdown and the latter half part of Harson's first year, the catastrophe of Harson's tenure in year 2, and now the underperforming against the better teams on our schedule so far this year. We're just like, please, can we get a win? Like I saw talking to the chat, they're like, oh, it's an SEC win. Man, the day that I saw us excited about getting an SEC win about a bad Vanderbilt team, we're not talking like a 6-win Vandy team or a James Franklin Vandy team. No, a bottom-feeding Vandy team. And we're here like, all right. It's a little sad. It is. But that's the state we're in, man. That's where we're at. That's where we have been the last couple of years, and we're still fighting out from that spot. So that's what it is right now.
Yeah, that's my question. Where y'all been? We've had back-to-back losing seasons. Gus got fired for a terrible season before that. Like, we haven't won a bowl game in a hot minute. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't like where we're at. But, like, for one, again, I never felt like Vanderbilt was in control of this game. I never felt like Vanderbilt was going to win this game. I was never worried about that. It was Auburn making their own mistakes. And, yeah, what was the spread be? 11.5?
12.5.
12.5? Okay, we covered. I mean, this is about what I expected. This is where, like B said, this is where we're at right now. So should we be touting this as one of the greatest wins in program history? No. But unfortunately, for this Auburn team where Auburn is right now, an SEC road win versus whoever it is a building block. I don't like it either, but there's a lot of people from school presidents to ADs to previous coaches that you can blame for where we're at right now. We're at where we're at, and I'm not going to come on here and be too down after a double-digit SEC win. I know what Vanderbilt is, man. I saw how ridiculous that stadium looked today, but you got to understand where we're at. And to B's point, Cam Coleman, you can start immediately. Perry Thompson, probably going to start immediately. Bryce Kane, going to get some run out the gate. You got some young guys in there, the Jay Fair and a Caleb Burton, that you feel like you can, you have a positive future going forward. But, like, you got something that you can sell. Jalua Solomon, were you watching South Carolina today, buddy? Is that really where you want to go?
Come back, brother.
You want them problems?
Come back, dude. Like, you saw what it was. So, yeah, man, we have recruited so bad in the trenches. That's why the D-line's lack of depth is where it's at. That's why there's no edge rushers on this team right now other than Keldrick Falk, really, because Jalen Cloud that's finally getting healthy and starting to get going.
Right.
How big has the return of Austin Keys been? lack of depth in the linebacker position.
Yeah,
we were playing
Yeah,
Eugene
man.
and Larry Nixon. We're playing every single snap for about a month there, guys. Like there's a lot of deficiencies at a lot of places. This team is getting better. This program is getting better. So in 3 years, this win is hopefully one that we don't even remember. But right now, I think it is something that we should be happy about.
I'm happy about it. I'm absolutely happy about it. I would love to play Vanderbilt again this season. Apparently that's not allowed. So, you know, I again, this was a good, to me, we have looked worse against similar competition this year, right? We have actually looked against Cal. We didn't look like we had an offense at all. At least now in this season, we're starting to at least put on film and see semblances of a Hugh Freeze offense. Can we get better at it? Absolutely. And I think that's why I disagree with Mike's point about we kind of are who we are. I mean, we're not good, but we haven't even seen this is what, week 3 of us seeing, or week 2 of seeing what Hugh Freeze's offense can be. These receivers are surprised the ball is even coming their way. Like let's see if we can build off and clean up some of this stuff is what I'm saying. Obviously, again, there's a lot of issues on this team offensively to where it's going to be a lot to clean up within a week with the penalties and the drop passes and the poor, obviously. But one thing that we did clean up this week was pass protection. That's one thing we did clean up was blitz pickups. Like we did a decent job with that because we wasn't even doing that right earlier in the season.
Yeah, they were sending a lot at us today to make sure we couldn't pick it up. So they did get their pressure. But to your point, yes, when it was just a 4 or 5 man rush, yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So it's just I am happy that we are seeing some progress with this team. It's going to be incremental. And again, I'm happy that we didn't lose to a struggling Vanderbilt team, right? Last year's team, we were struggling. We were excited to beat a bad Texas A&M team, right? This year it feels like we can actually go into the Iron Bowl 7-4. Next week's going to be a big week against an Arkansas team. That's going to tell a lot about where this team is in terms of building to that point. You're coming into the Iron Bowl with a lot of momentum. You beat Arkansas on the road. And I think with this offense beginning to build some confidence in terms of what it's trying to do and what it's doing, I'm eager to see if they can begin to put more of it together next week. All right. Auburn Dad for Life says last 2 games have shown some semblance of an offense, basically kind of what I've said here. So again, we were like, where's Auburn's identity? We didn't have an identity on offense, it seemed. Again, we appear to be pretty balanced now with Jarquez emerging, Peyton Thorne beginning to look better in many facets. So I'm eager to see us put more of it together. Jay Bonham says, let's concentrate on beating the Hogs and not have our eyes on the Iron Bowl. Listen, we can look at it all day. We can talk about the Iron Bowl all day. Auburn players, the coaching staff, I want them focused on Arkansas.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Arkansas. We're going to talk about Bama. We're going to talk about getting to a bowl. Because obviously I expect us to beat New Mexico State. We can talk about that. The players, coaches, on the other hand, I want them focused on the Hogs.
Yeah.
JP Tiger, 2009, just became a member. Welcome, good sir. Lawrence Robinson says, at least we're not South Carolina.
Hey, man.
Amen.
I want, there's some gems in that class as well. Jalewis Solomon being one of them. I want that dude back. I looked at some of his high school tape. Like, he is a baller, a just incredible ball hawking, strong hands, ferocious player, offense and defense. Like, he's a baller. I want him back in the class.
You think there's a possibility he's still in play? Because, he was pretty on his commitment day, first time. He was pretty torn between the 2 schools, and it looked like he was already leaning South Carolina, but chose Auburn. Mm-hmm. He eventually changes his mind, goes back to South Carolina. Do you think he's still in play? I mean, not that you know anything, but do you think it's a possibility he hasn't fully made up his mind?
I think if anything is going to be in play, it's going to be competition of a financial standpoint would be the only thing. He seems to really like South Carolina. I don't know why. So if he liked them enough to decommit from us, then the only thing that can make the biggest difference to me is excuse me, making it an offer that he couldn't refuse.
Okay.
And sometimes for some players, that doesn't even matter. We have out-recruited players. We have out-recruited schools for players that could have gone to a better situation with better draft success and better on-field success because they just really liked it here. The kid just might really like South Carolina, and we've got no shot. Who knows? We are not plugged in on Jalewis Solomon's recruitment like that. I just hope we get him back in here because South Carolina looks bad, buddy. But I also think the bar for them is so low, they're not going to get rid of Beamer and send this class scurrying all over the place. Like Beamer, he's a rah-rah guy mostly, and that's almost it. They're going to have to reset at quarterback after this year because I think Spencer Rattler is out of eligibility. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong.
That's your boy. You should know.
Man, you stop. Don't do that.
All right.
He's out of eligibility. So even if he was just okay and the offense is decent, so you got to fix a bad defense and start over at quarterback. I don't know what they do. It seems like it would be a much better situation here to rebuild here than to go to South Carolina and help them rebuild. But again, the kid might just really like the school.
Ben Bloodworth says, what is causing the defense's 3rd and long woes? That is something that's been a bit frustrating. It happened again in this game. But against a bad Vanderbilt team, it didn't cost us. But you wonder if we can get. I think that's perhaps my biggest issue or complaint about our defense is we get teams in 3rd and long, and it seems as though they convert, or whether we're zone blitzing, they're finding an open guy in the soft zone coverage. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Ben's comments there?
Without looking at repetitive reps, I would like to see the numbers on this. We can't get pressure with 4. We can't get significant pressure with 4. We have to send a 5th from somewhere. That leaves you open. That leaves the middle of the field open. A QB scramble is going to kill you. A good route is going to kill you, and it seems to be the case. Now, we are playing a lot of zone, which I also think contributes to it's easier to find passing lanes in the zone. If you were playing man, you turn your back to the quarterback on the 3rd and long. Well, now the quarterback's going to get whatever he wants because you had to turn around and go cover the wide receivers playing man. The problem is, I think, rooted in the fact that we can't get a significant pass rush with base 4. That is the biggest problem for this defense so far. It has been the problem, and I think that's the root of our 3rd and long. If you could get pressure with 4, buddy, it's 3rd and 22. We're going to get to you before your wide receiver can get to the first down marker. That is the problem. I think that's what's plagued us this year.
Definitely good points about that. Dustin, you're about to hop out, but you guys will be live tomorrow. Give them the time. Tell them where to check you out. All that good stuff before you head out, sir.
Yeah, man. Like people were saying there, I agree with you, dude. It's just you just don't have the bodies. It's a depth issue. It's a lack of having edge rushers. You can't really generate pressure with 4, so you have to bring somebody on the money down. A good quarterback will find that, see it, pick it apart, right? And in the SEC, you're going to play good quarterbacks. The A&M game's a good example of that. You knock their starter out, and here comes another good quarterback, and Mac Johnson that can identify that and get you. So that's just why you got to stay patient and accept ugly wins on the road at Vanderbilt. You know, it is what it is. And what did I tell you Wednesday, B? About Florida and Arkansas. I don't want to hear nothing about Arkansas found anything. Ain't nobody found nothing. Somebody came out on top in the trash bowl. Big deal. I ain't buying it. We should go on the road next week. I think we'll be in a dogfight. I do. But I think it'll be if you find a way to win that game, it'll be another step forward for this program. We just got to take them how they come this year. You can find us over at the Uptempo Podcast. We will be live at 10 a.m. tomorrow. No, excuse me, 3. Tomorrow is 3. 10 a.m. is Fridays. We'll be tomorrow at 3, right after you guys get done with the War Report. And man, catch us over there. Blake's coming back. He was covering the baseball game today in Biloxi. He's coming back. We'll be talking about that. Basketball tipping off Tuesday. We're going to be live streaming the basketball game during the game, and we'll have a show Monday for the previewing the basketball season as well. So just a ton of content coming out over at the Uptempo Podcast, man. Check us out. C-Dub, B-Will. It's a W, guys. Let's book. It's 2 in a row. War Damn Eagle. Appreciate y'all.
Hey, listen.
Appreciate you, man.
We beat Arkansas I'm going crazy. I'm going nuts. We beat Arkansas.
We might get a coach fired, right?
We might get a Coach Killer. We'll see. We'll see. If we win, I'm going nuts. All right, I'm going crazy on that. So,
All right, boys.
Appreciate you, Dustin.
See you, man.
Appreciate you, man. B. Grab some super chats here. Ben says, I think the Rogue Shop sent YouTube TV a message about how stressed our fan base is based on how many moments of zen. It was crazy, this game. I don't know if you have YouTube TV, don't you, B? Or did you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it was a lot of zen.
It's just what they do. It's because they can't show all the locals depending on what your local area is. So all of the commercials won't translate because if they have something showing specific to your market that doesn't get through anyway, they can't show that commercial. So you just see this weird.
It was a lot of zen
in this lake sunset. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of zen. Normally they show it and it's like really, really, short, but like we went a good bit through the commercials. Anyways, let's grab a few more. D Left says, where was Shane Hooks? I was looking for Shane.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what happened to Shane in this game. Good question. Do not know. TK comes back and asks about another receiver that we haven't seen. Shorter didn't see the field again today. I think it's fair to say that outside of Shane Hooks making a few plays as a receiver, and of course Burton coming over from Ohio State, I think we've been getting it done with Fairweather and some of our guys who are already on the roster. Jay Fair, another guy, Javarius Johnson, another guy who who's been making some plays. Camden Brown has been making some plays. He's been getting some targets and making some catches. So, but a lot of the transfer guys that have come in that we expected to be a big part of the passing game haven't really lived up. But again, the passing attack has been so bad this year, it's hard for anybody to live up to the hype. And now that we're starting to get something going, it is interesting to see those guys not out there, or at least not getting a lot of opportunities that we hope they would get in this offense.
Yeah. It looked like dysfunction early. So how is anybody going to thrive when you don't really have any type of idea what you want to do at quarterback? A lot of switching back and forth. Rhythm was hard to come by. Some of the pickups that Hugh Freeze made in that second window, it doesn't seem like they panned out for the most part, which is rough. I mean, again, we're trying to keep it in perspective here. Are we happy with the results and how things have looked for most of the season? No, the offense has looked bad for most of the season. We're getting into a softer part of our schedule, and the offense is starting to find life. We're trying to make a lot of whether it's progress or not. I think if your competition gets worse and you get better, it's fair to question if that's really progress. We see that a lot. Teams look great until they play somebody great, and then they don't look as great, and that's how football goes. But it's really hard to knock Hugh Freeze for making an effort in recruiting. For number one, with the high school players that we got in here, we had some big wins, but also in the second part of the portal, there's not nearly as much there. There's just not. And some of what we're seeing is just that. There's a reason why some of these players were available in the second part of the portal window. They weren't slam lock guaranteed 100% difference makers. The couple that were, we saw how heavily contested the recruiting for Keon Coleman was. And now we know why he was so heavily sought, because he is a baller. He's probably the key to Florida State being undefeated right now. There aren't a lot of those out there. And to be fair, I don't think we had enough of a passing game here for him to come to, and looks like he made the right decision. So you go after the best guys that you think. I think this coaching staff had their hands full trying to make all of these scattered pieces work quickly. I think we're finally starting to look like the team I thought we could be. And I think we've all said that. This is kind of what we expected between last week and this week. Even though it's not perfect, it still looks like a passing attack that can move the ball.
Right.
However, I think we thought we would be further along by now. We thought we would wake up by game 5 or 6 and not game, 8 or 9. And that's really the issue here. It took the staff a little bit to get it together. But hey, it's where we're at is what we have to work with. And I mean, I don't know if this was short as last year or not. I hope it's not, because it seems like a waste of a last year to come here and not really get too much burn. But I'm fortunately we have enough in the tank to get to bowl eligible. I just hope, and I think Mike has said this a lot, for the sake of these players, man, that they can end the season positively. Show out against Arkansas, show out against New Mexico State, and then shock the world with a win against Bama. Hopefully that's how the season is, but we'll see.
That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. But again, Auburn is on track to end up where a lot of people thought they would end up. And B, it's almost a better late than never type of situation, right?
Right.
Because at one point, it looked like our offense was never going to wake up.
Yeah, it did.
So I'm happy to at least see some offense even if it is against a Mississippi State or Vandy. Yeah. I'm happy to see it, because against the teams like Cal, it was questionable. Yeah. Non-existent at times. So I'm happy that we are starting to see it at the very least. So I'm looking forward to it, to seeing what this team can do on the road against Arkansas. I'm going to grab a few more comments that we have here. Erica Ratney says, we won tonight. Is anyone else a little disappointed still? It was Vanderbilt. Should we have done a little better than this? Maybe it's the wide receivers I'm disappointed with. Again, as we said in halftime, Jarquez Hunter was the bright spot of Auburn's offense at the half, because there were a lot of people I was looking at a little funny style, be like, why are you holding?
Right.
Why are you dropping passes?
Right.
Why did you stare down that receiver in the flat and throw? Like, there's so much blame to go around in terms of execution from our players. I want to see better focus on the road against Arkansas. I don't want to see us. I mean, again, mistakes happen, but there were a lot of mistakes that was concerning against Vanderbilt. I'm just happy that the game was never in doubt, right? You could have made more mistakes to put the game in doubt, and they didn't do that. I do want to see us improve and have better focus in games against Arkansas on the road. Lawrence Robinson says Shane played but didn't get any targets. Appreciate that. So Shane was out there. Alan Ingram says McPherson automatic so far, needs a shout out. We definitely going to talk about him tomorrow when we do grades, talking about special teams. He has been definitely amazing. Ike has a bit of a critique. We'll save that. I already know what it's going to be. I know he's going to mention it tomorrow. We'll save that for tomorrow. But B, any other thoughts, man, before we get out of here?
No. Well, summarily, I think we're all frustrated with where we are this season, not because of what our record is, because of how bad we looked in the games that we lost. It looked bad in the games that we lost. A couple of valiant efforts, if you want to say the home games against Georgia, really, I think was probably our best effort in the loss so far this season. But other than that, this offense has underwhelmed. Starting to see life from them, but I still think it's fair to question if we're seeing better offense, better play, or just worse competition. And ultimately, let's bright side here. It doesn't matter if we're playing better because the competition is bad. We're just trying to get the wins to get to a bowl game. So yeah, if that means that Arkansas is not a great team and we can play well against them and get that win, does it matter if we're not the greatest offense in the world? No, it doesn't matter. We got the win. And the same thing against New Mexico State. We just need the wins. We need those wins. We know that year one in a new coach is not going to be the entirety of his tenure. It's not going to be what his entire tenure is going to be about. He's made it clear he wants to upgrade the talent across several positions, the entire team, that he was continuously going to do that. And he's let us know from day one that he was not happy with the wide receivers in that room, their play and their effort at different times, and also their size. So the fact that that's the thing that has been a consistent struggle, that's not a surprise. Unfortunately, I think I saw JB say this earlier in the chat. Heather Dennis said, hey, man, y'all good luck with the wide receivers. And then we were like, hey, we don't know what you're talking about. And then Hugh Free was like, man, I didn't like to play from the wide receivers. We were like, man, come on.
She got that from Hugh, though, I thought.
I mean, she saw the players she saw that game, that practice, me. That wasn't even all the players that were going to be. Like Hooks wasn't here. A couple players who were here from last year were hurt. So we were like, oh, okay. So she didn't see everything we had to offer. Well, as it turns out, It was a fair assessment. It's been an assessment all year. And if we look at the film with clear eyes, it has been an issue all year. Inconsistent wide receiver play, and then sometimes poor wide receiver play with some bright spots, of course, because again, Jay Fair has been a revelation, and I'm glad to see him get some wins out there. But there's a lot to improve on this team. I think we all just have to be patient with Hugh Freeze. We can be critical of how he's handled this team and this talent that is here, and still look forward to when the team progresses, when we upgrade talent at different positions, and he will have more to work with and hopefully field a better on-field product. But still patient. Unhappy that we have looked so bad on offense this year, yes, but still hopeful that we can get to 7 wins at least and continue to improve the roster in the offseason.
Agreed. Well said. Well said. Ben Bloodworth, appreciate you, man, for gifting 5 War Report memberships. Those of you who enjoyed those memberships, enjoy that. We got great content behind the paywall. You are going to enjoy it. Ike does film reviews twice a week, I believe. He does the previous game on Monday, and then on Thursday he will preview our upcoming opponent, give us things to look for there. So you definitely want to catch that or check that out during the season. We got some great content coming up for you guys also, fireside style. Be on the lookout for that. Definitely want to show love to some of our sponsors. Rogue Shop. This game was never really got there, but if it had, Rogue Shop is your place to go. Use code RAPPORT to get your herbal supplements. Shouts out to Rogue Shop for being a continued sponsor of the War Report. Manscaped. Manscaped.com. Please show love to Manscaped. Gentlemen, head over there and use code RAPPORT. Definitely glad to be partnered with Manscaped. Definitely to have them supporting the War Report. Also, again, special shout out to Prize Picks. Head over there, use code RAPPORT to get your first deposit matched up to $100. That's it for now, guys, but we will catch you tomorrow with the weekend tailgate. It's a good night. We can watch some college football knowing Auburn won, and Auburn is over 500, B.
We can say go Tigers as well. We are over 500, by the way. Yes. I'm going to say go Tigers.
I want both of them to lose. I don't know if there's a scenario where that happens, but
if you got to pick one, who do you want to lose?
If you had to pick one,
you have to pick, assuming somebody's got to win or lose here.
No, don't.
Overtime exists.
No, don't. Both of you get L's. You get an L. You get an L. No, both of them lose. I'm being petty like Ike. Both of them can lose, B. I hate them both. I hate them both. Right. Bama a little bit more than LSU, but I don't like them. I don't like either one of them. Anyways, y'all, appreciate y'all. Be sure to do us a solid favor. Share this content, y'all. Share the content. We greatly appreciate if you share this content. Definitely smash that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow on the weekend tailgate. Enjoy the rest of your evening. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.